And we're live. Episode 8 of Beyond the Finish Line. Georgia, how you doing, mate?
I am well, Matt. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Just we're just saying we're both been a bit of a day for us. So we're doing the podcast to bring morale up.
Yeah, exactly. It has been, well, look, good day. Just lots happening. Lots happening.
Mm.
I was just saying to Matt that I have just completely rearranged my spare bedroom and I'm now in a bit of a podcast studio, which is so fun. I feel so professional right now.
Yeah, it's you've got to make me up my game, which
Yeah.
is I'm not happy about.
Yeah, look, I saw Matt's camera and I was like, I hate the angle of mine. So we've now connected a camera and then I've got my mic set up and I've got these really flash headphones. So Matt's definitely going to have
All
to
you need
get
is the
his.
red curtain behind you, and it's Joe Rogan.
And the neon lights and the dark background.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty, we're legit, guys. This is legit podcast. I love it.
We're 80% of the way to the goal, so.
I know. Go
Oh,
us.
and speaking of goals, today's fun fact, we had our biggest week of downloads ever.
Oh, yay. How good's that? That's
Yeah.
epic.
Every week, yeah, it's grown every single week since we started, which is cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Every now and again, Matt will send me the stats of the podcast and it makes my day. It's so exciting. And
Yeah.
look, we've had so many beautiful reviews and people sending us messages both to myself and to you, Matt. And it's so nice to hear everyone, talking and saying that they love the podcast and or they're out on their long run. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I always find it interesting for people who listen to me talk. I'm like, oh, I wonder what's going on in your life that I'm the interesting person.
And look, the consensus is they love your yapping.
I told you.
You really
When I
do.
get going, if I get on a good topic,
I know, no stopping him. And look, I must apologize. At the start, I was bringing Matt back a little bit. I was like, oh, we can't talk it too long. I was, worried, but no, definitely. I think we're sitting at a good time now, and I think it's a great time for people to be out on their long runs.
yeah, I found it funny. Our first couple of it, or not funny. It's just how it progresses. Our first couple of episodes, we were like 40 minutes, 45 minutes. That's heaps. No one want us to talk longer than that. And now we just did an hour, 15 episode or something, and everyone was like, "Can you go a bit longer?"
Yeah,
So
I know. It's like a movie. Oh my gosh.
it legit is. Yeah, we're nearly at 90 minutes. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. So hopefully, look, guys, hopefully the audio is amazing for you guys so you can hear us nice and crisp and you're not having to turn
Yeah,
those headphones up to hear us. But yeah, it's we're on our way. We're on our way. Episode 8.
getting better. Getting better every week. That's the goal.
Definitely.
Doesn't have to be perfect, just has to be better than last week.
Exactly. Speaking of weeks, how was your week of training?
You know what? I actually have a low this week, which is interesting.
Ah, okay. Last couple of weeks, if you guys have missed it, Matt hasn't had a low. He said he's been feeling really good. So that's all
Yep.
right. There's always a high to your low, and tell us about it.
Yeah, so this happens just in every endurance prep at some point. For no rhyme or reason, you just start the session and you cannot get anywhere close to what is expected of you or what you've done previously. So Saturday had a 4.5 hour bike with a half an hour runoff,
Mm-hmm.
and I had some like specific power numbers to hit. And I got 20 minutes into the warm up, and my heart rate was almost at threshold just doing the warm up. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm just being a sook. And I felt fantastic getting on the bike like beforehand and everything, carved up, did all the things I meant to do.
Yeah.
Got an hour and a half into the session, and I was like, I think I lowered the power 40% of what the number I was meant to hit. And I was like, nah, just not happening. Got off the bike, ate some food, sulked for a bit, had a full like full dummy spit. Just was like,
Oh,
couldn't couldn't come anywhere near me. I was like, Sam, go to the other. Like you stay in the lounge room. I'm not a person to be around right now.
poor Sam.
Yeah, she deals with a lot. God bless her. Um, and then I was like, I did a couple of hours of work. I was like, you know what? I'll just go for a run and see how I feel. And ended up just running a half marathon, just like straight out the door. And I was like, oh, so I can't be that bad. And then the next day, Sunday, I ended up doing the ride and crushed it. So it was
Oh,
that was my high and low.
just a casual half marathon, hey?
I was just like, I'm just going to run until my head feels better because I get
Yeah,
really upset if I don't hit my training properly. And it was 2 hours, and I was like, oh, I just, yeah, half marathon, knocked it out. And
fair. I
yeah,
mean, I can understand that. I can understand that. You just got to keep running until
yeah.
you feel like you've done the job you need to do.
Yeah, well, it was kind of weird because I was like, oh, I just wasn't looking at my watch or anything. I just had a podcast in and I was just running, and I was like,
Yep.
I've been running a little while, and I was like, oh, hour 45, and I was like, I'll just call it 2 hours, and then yeah, it was like 21 point whatever kilometers, so it was good.
Decent pace. I mean, that's my that's my fast pace. You're just cruising. Oh,
Yeah, well,
must be
I'm a
nice.
little bit ahead. I'm a little bit ahead of you.
I know, it's okay. I know.
I'm also deep in prep, so like I'm pretty fit at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm just
Yeah,
getting back into prep, so I can
yeah,
understand that.
yeah. And how about you? Highs and lows?
Highs and lows. Wow, I've had a week of training, that's for sure. Look, I'm going to start with a low. I think on my socials, I've been talking about this kind of all week. My hip has just been an absolute pain in the ass all week. No pun intended, because that is where the pain
I was gonna
goes,
say
is
literally.
literally. I get, yeah, quite bad pain in my glutes. It's always my left side. I'm convinced it's definitely my running form, so I will fix that at some point. But when you're deep in a marathon block, you can't change too much. So,
Yeah, you
yeah,
keep booking races.
I know. I really should have sorted this out at the end of last year, but I had a bit on.
Yeah,
So yeah, look, I was feeling pretty down in the dumps the last couple of days. I couldn't do my long run on Sunday because Saturday afternoon I saw the physio, or my chiro physio, and he did shock therapy on my hip and my glutes, which, if you've never heard of it, because I didn't before I did it, it's just basically this contraption, kind of looks a bit like a Theragun, and he puts a bit of ultrasound gel on you, and then it just shoots like a shockwave, I guess, through you
yeah.
in very layman's terms.
Electromagnet.
Yeah, in very layman's terms. And yeah, when I saw him on the Friday for my needling, he was like, look, let's do this. I think it's going to work for you. I think this is where we're at now. It's not getting better with the needling. And he was like, I'm going to pre-warn you though, this is effing painful. And I was like,
Did he hit a bone?
um, I don't think so. I feel as though I should know what that feels like if you hit a bone, but
Yeah, well, if he hits a bone, you know all about it.
no, 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 definitely didn't hit a bone then, because it's quite fleshy on my bum.
Hmm.
So yeah, so we did that. Nick came along with me, and yeah, there's quite a bit of swearing that happened, but it was pretty funny. But look, I went in, he fully warned me. He was like, this is going to really hurt. I think, bless him, he knew that I needed to be warned. And I did all my research. I had a look what it looked like, what I should expect. So I wasn't really surprised when I got there. And yeah, he got started. It was pretty painful, though not as bad as I thought, which is good because I think obviously he had pre-warned me. And yeah, so I'm pretty bruised. My whole left butt cheek is completely black. But yeah, that put me out of training for a few days. But this morning I went for a long run, and you had said, "Oh, obviously go do your 60 minutes," which is what I normally do on a Monday. And I said, oh, I really want to do longer. I just, for my mental state, I need to show myself that I can run a bit longer. And so, yeah, you said, look, you can do 90, but you have to get to 60 and feel good. Um, and so,
I
yeah,
think originally you wanted to do your marathon run
my long
was your
run.
original plan. Yeah, with the
Yeah.
with the efforts.
Yeah, no efforts at all. I knew it needed to be slow after Saturday, trying to go for a run, and it was still painful. But yeah, I felt good this morning. I went out for my run. My mindset was really good. I was super happy to be there. Yeah, it was a nice run. It was really nice. It was in the park. Everyone was feeling good. There was a beautiful sunrise. So it was good. That's kind of my high. My high is that I feel like I'm on the up again after feeling pretty down the last couple of days with this injury. But it's less than 8 weeks to London Marathon, so I'm getting myself into gear.
Yeah, we still got plenty of time.
But yeah, look, I think I was getting a bit in my head because I know in the last three, sorry, lots of training blocks that I've done, by this point, I'm already doing past at 20 Ks for my long runs. So I think in my mind, I'm like, I should be doing more. I should be doing more. Why aren't you doing more? And that's that constant head noise. But now that I've done the run today, I'm like, okay, well, look, I'm fit enough. I'll be back doing half marathons, soon, I'm sure. So, yeah.
Yeah, and this is kind of what I said to the night you and Nick called me, saying you got into London. I said to you guys, you're fit enough to do a marathon now, and you both sort of looked at me funny, and I was like, when you've done enough endurance training, you just understand how to deal with the event.
Yeah.
So I always say to people who talk to me about Ironman, any day of the week, I could roll out of bed and get through an Ironman.
Yeah.
3.8k, 180k bike, 42.2 kilometer run. It's not going to be fast. It's not going to be pretty. I'm going to be really sore at the end of it.
Yeah.
But
It's
I
just
understand how to manage my way through it.
Yeah.
And it's the exact same thing with the marathon. You've run enough marathons, half marathons now that you know it's going to suck in this little window. I'm not going to be fast. I can get through it though. So whereas in terms of fitness level, like you're already there. We just got to put a little bit of conditioning in your legs.
Yeah, and that's it. It's down to the conditioning in my legs. I think, as you said, I could definitely run a marathon tomorrow if I wanted to, just plod along. But and I think the pressure of not having I've removed the pressure of a time, and it is just running a marathon. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I just have to get past that finish line, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, and that's the other big thing too that I don't think people struggle to they disassociate. They think running a marathon means racing a marathon.
Yeah.
When there is a big difference from I want to finish a marathon to I want to do a time for a marathon.
Yeah.
So both in the way you approach it mentally, physically, your preparation, your nutrition, everything is completely different. So the fact that you are the fact that you are running a marathon, not racing a marathon, is like it just changes everything.
Yeah, it does. And I think it's nice. It's kind of taking me back to my first ever training block for my first marathon, where my goal was just to finish. And my goal for London Marathon is to enjoy every single moment. And I can see myself seeing my friends out on the course and running out and giving them a big hug and all that kind of thing. Whereas my past marathons, every time I've seen family and friends, I've given them, like a high five or a quick squeeze, but it's never been a hug. And I'm excited to see friends and just stop and give them a hug, because it doesn't matter if I have to stop for a second or two, whereas before that really worried me.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just different, like, in terms of the fitness level. Like, as long as you are not dying, like, it's fine. You can enjoy it. So
that's the best
in terms
thing.
of in terms of long runs, like, we got 8 weeks. You're going to run 20Ks, 22, 24, 28, 32 probably, and that'll be it, and you'll be right. Like, maybe a 36, see how we're trending. But
yeah, look, I think when you put it that way, that is still a fair amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
like
think
you've
it
got
is the small
6
breakdown.
high quality long runs left.
Yeah, because I think we leave a week before the marathon to go.
Yeah, and chuck in a little bit of a tape or two to freshen you up.
Yeah, look, I'll run in Bali. Why not? Sweat it all out.
That'd be good for you.
Yeah, I might do a run along the Seine in Paris and sightsee, and I'm excited for that too. Actually, is to just sightsee and run, which is cool because
It's a great way. Paris is a great city to run through.
Yeah, which is crazy. And I've been to Paris 4 times and I've never run in Paris because I only started running when I got back to Australia. Whereas I know you and I have mentioned before in the podcast, we both lived in the UK, whereas in London, and I never ran in London. So I've never experienced running in a different country. So, I've been to 40 now and I've run in none of them besides Australia. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, I think it's just interesting. Like, you go for a run and you just
kind of go and get lost.
Yeah, exactly. You just sort of I wonder what's down here, and you just run down there, and you just end up in all places you never would have thought.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. Just as you said, going to places you never would have thought, because I mean, you turn any corner in Paris or in London or any of those kinds of cities, and there's something completely different. So
Yeah.
it'd be good, and it'd be nice to have post marathon to be able to go for some runs and stuff in Italy, and don't be too jealous.
You might be a bit sore though. You might be too sore to get it done in Italy.
No, what do you mean? I'm there for like 10 days. We'll be fine. Plenty of time.
You're in Italy for 10 days?
Yeah, we're away for a month. So,
Bloody hell.
I know the honeymoon is honeymooning. We are doing all the things. We're,
Must be nice.
yeah, we're going to an island off Naples for 4 nights, I think, and then we go to Positano as well, and then we go to Greece for 10 days or something as well. So
Beautiful.
I
How
know,
good.
I know, it'd be really
When do you
cool.
leave again?
We leave on the 19th of April, so we fly out.
Oh, okay.
We go to Bali, and then we go over to Europe and the UK, and yeah, it's just crazy how the fact that the marathon landed when we were in the UK, because we didn't plan it. We were just like, okay, we'll go to Bali because that's where the stopover for the flight was, so that we could fly business. And yeah, it just happened that I was like, oh, I really want to go back to Paris because it's honeymoon and I'm such a romantic. And Matt's like, vomit.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I was like, oh, we'll go to London and see all of our friends. And I was like, oh, that's the weekend of the marathon. How cool. We'll go and watch it. And then yeah, that's how it all started. So it'll be cool.
Yeah, wild. The whole process was just wild how it came together.
I know. I was still getting a lot of people just being like, I don't even know how you made that happen, but you need to teach me your manifesting ways.
You need to post on social media every day for 3 years and then you can manifest things.
Yeah, just annoy the shit out of people for six
Yeah.
months and it'll happen. But no,
Yeah.
in all seriousness, it really only just happened because I was just putting it out into the atmosphere and just telling people. And then that, when the ticket actually came along, someone was like, I know exactly who needs a ticket.
Yeah, it's true. Like, I think we said this the other week. Like, you don't ask, you don't get. So just keep putting it out there.
I'll take $1 million, please.
Yeah, just you never know, mate. Someone might pay that for a TikTok one day.
I know, I'll take a big brand deal.
Yeah,
Nah,
Asics, if you're listening.
oh, we love you guys.
So much.
I know. Oh, how funny. But yeah, that's in the longest way possible. That was my training week.
20 minutes in, we finished George's
I
training
know.
week.
Just cut to that SpongeBob thing where it's like 20 hours later.
Yeah, one eternity later.
Oh dear, but yeah, that's it. But you wanted to talk about some things today, Matt. Do you want to tell everyone what you
Yeah,
wanted to talk about?
I do because someone messaged us on the Beyond the Finish Line Instagram and they said, I can't remember what episode they were referencing, but Georgia and I had spoke about failed attempts. We both have, I failed my sub 10 hour Ironman twice now. Georgia had failed her sub 4 hour marathon technically once, but kind of twice.
Let's not get into that. Let's not.
And I meant for Gold Coast and Sydney.
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
Gold Coast, yeah.
Nah, it's fine.
Yeah. And then this person, and if you're listening, I'm not doing this to make you angry or rile you up or anything. I just think it's an important thing to talk about in the space of endurance. They had said that they don't I'm going to paraphrase. They don't believe in the word failure. It's like not a particularly good word. They don't think it's particularly helpful.
Yeah.
And it's a negative way to frame your performance. And I am, as soon as I read the message, George just sent it to me. I was just like, no, disagree, like wholeheartedly. Couldn't
Yeah.
think, went straight off on it. So I was like, we should probably talk about it.
Yeah, look, I think it's probably something we would have talked about anyway, because I mean,
For sure.
you and I have both in the last year or two experienced failure within our chosen sport. And, I think when this message came through, I could see what they were trying to say and what they were getting
100%,
at.
yeah.
Yeah, and so could you. And the empath in me was like, I feel really bad that person has come away with a negative experience. But once once you and I got chatting, Matt, I had said how I felt, and I told the person, I said, look, I completely understand that's how you feel. However, Matt and I both have a different experience with failure, and that's okay because everyone has different experiences with it. So yeah, we've both got our own experiences, but I thought, you and I both thought we'd talk about it today just because it's
Yeah,
interesting for everyone to hear.
for sure. And I think the I think the longer you pursue anything difficult, whether that is in business, whether that is in relationship, whether that is in athletic pursuits, failure will be a part of the journey. You cannot succeed 100% of the time. Like there is the yin and the yang. So
Yeah.
the more you do it, the more you will fail, but the more you fail, the stronger and better you will become. So I think the quicker you embrace it and understand it's a part of it, the quicker you'll develop.
Yeah, and look, he was saying we, instead of using the word failure, maybe we could use, we didn't meet our goal or we didn't complete our goal, which, I can understand. I can understand that is a nicer way of putting it. But I mean, this is the real world. And at the end of the
Yeah.
day, in the nicest way possible, we both failed. We didn't get the goal we wanted, and that is defined as failure, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that
Yeah.
word. So, as you said, like, you've got to fail sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. I think that if you're setting goals and you've got a 100% success rate, you are not setting realistic goals. You are setting
Yeah.
goals that are safe and conservative, and you already know before you've started the process that you were going to achieve said goal, which for me is kind of a bit of a waste of time. I
Mm.
think you should set, and I'm the extreme of this, so not everyone will be like me, but I think you should set goals that are just so ridiculously far out of your reach that even if you come up short, you've gone so much further than you would have if you had have just trained conservatively. And I know I've spoke about that before, but that's that's where I'm at. And same with what you said in terms of um I just had a mental blank on what you said.
No,
You said
yeah, look, I
the
think,
real world. Yeah, it's
yeah,
binary, ones and zeros. So pass fail.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And look, yes, we have spoken about it in the past, and I think it was episode 2 when we were talking about our goals and stuff and whether or not we had met our goals for 2024 and all that kind of thing. And, yes, if you're not setting a big enough goal, then you're just going to get the goal. Like, where's the excitement in that? For me, the sub 4 was so, even when we first started talking about it, it was crazy. You were like, oh, dude, I don't know about Gold Coast. Like, you haven't really had enough training, and we haven't trained together enough for me to know whether or not that's a possibility. But for me, that was a huge goal, a huge goal. When you're starting out running past 7-minute kilometers, and then you've got to run, what is it, like a 5:35 per kilometer
Yeah,
for 42.2, that's a big difference. And so
yeah,
that was a big goal. And yeah, I mean, it'd be pretty amazing if I went from a almost 5-hour marathon to shaving an hour off to then get that goal. And so, I thought I could fail. There's a pretty high chance here that I'm going to fail, but there's also the chance that I might not fail. And that's the best thing, is that that's why that goal was big and ambitious and exciting. And, if you don't set goals that are exciting, what's the point?
yeah. And I think that's a really good framework. So like, let's just use you as the example, Georgia. 5 hour marathon runner, or just use whole numbers to make it really
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a 5 hour marathon runner, and you come to me and you go, Matt, I want to run sub 4. I'm like, okay, awesome, let's do that. And you ran, what was your Sydney time? 4:0.
So, yeah. So, yeah, close to, so it was, first one was 4:47. And then
So
my,
the most recent Sydney.
yeah, yeah. So then, hold on, I've got to say all my times here, guys.
No, I just want one.
No. My recent Sydney one was 4 hours and 39 seconds.
4 hours, 39 seconds. Cool. So if Georgia had have come to me and said, so that's basically an hour off the marathon time.
Yeah.
If Georgia had to come to me and said, I really want to run sub 4:30, and she ran sub 4:29, we left 28 and a half minutes on the table
Yeah.
from her setting an ambitious goal to setting a conservative goal. Um, and I personally think, and this might be a weird sadist thing, but like I think if you fail, a goal over and over again. Like me, I've failed a sub 10 Ironman twice.
Yeah.
And realistically, this time coming from Port, the odds are still not in my favor to achieve it. Like if you did the math, I probably wouldn't hit it. But when I do eventually hit it, and I will eventually hit it, it is going to be so much sweeter because I have failed time and time again. And I've got up and I've got better and I've got up and I've got better and I've gone up and down, and then we're going to achieve it. Like all of those things combined is what makes the endurance experience what it is.
Yeah, definitely. And you've only got to look at people in business who talk about how many times they failed, how many times they were put down, how many times they went to a board meeting and pitched their brand and they were told no. If they were just continuously told yes, they probably wouldn't have the fire in their belly to keep going. They'd be like, well, what's the point? I've already succeeded. Cool. Like, done. How do you go anywhere from that? So I think endurance sports is the exact same in that you have to fail to give you that fire to make you excited to want to get out there and train again. Because,
absolutely,
you know, if you keep on getting these goals, I mean, yeah, you're going to be an elite, you'll be at the front, but it's like, you can only go so far. You got to give yourself some room.
Even take the elites, like how many times has Eliud Kipchoge had a crack at breaking two?
Yeah.
He's the greatest marathon runner ever, and he's never, I mean, he did the sub 2 hour project, but that doesn't count. Yeah. But he's tried so many times and not got it. Like, does that make him a failure? No, he's still the most successful marathon runner ever.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
So and I mean, all just like,
while the margin is a lot smaller for them, you know, they're talking seconds here trying to beat their records and things like that. But, you know, he fails. You know, look at, you know, there's some incredible women out there who run, who, you know, there's Anya in the UK. She started out with a marathon time like me, and now she's running with the elites, you know, but she failed along the way. And that's what's made her so excited to be where she is. And yeah, we've both failed twice, but here we are both excited to be back trying to break our attempts at a sub 4 and a sub 10. And while mine may not be at London, it'll be at Sydney and I'll get my redemption and I know I can do it and I'm going to get that official time and it's going to be so exciting.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I think this is a really important part of it is some people set goals and I can use myself as an example. The first time I said I was going to do a sub 10 hour Ironman, I didn't even know, I couldn't comprehend the level of athlete I needed to be to achieve that goal. I just said, if I'm going to train really, really hard for 8 months and I'll just do it. Like that was my mindset. And then I went and did the Ironman, got nowhere near it. I was nearly 2 hours off. I did like 11:50 something. And I was like, oh, I need to rethink the whole way I train, the whole way I recover, the whole way I do my nutrition. And then I went and did it again. And I was like, oh, I'm still an hour away. Like an hour is a long time. I'm like, okay, everything I just learned from the last prep, I need to like refine and make better again. And then this prep has been even better than both of those preps combined. And then guess what? If I don't make it this time, I'm going to have to refine that process all again. So like, I think it's so important because it's the fastest, most efficient way to get better is just to fail and make mistakes, but then learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, definitely. And look, every time I've had a race, you've always said to me, you know, every race is a chance to learn and be better and do better on the next race, you know, whether that is, you know, City to Surf for some people I know that'll be listening that, you know, might not have a marathon as their goal. It'll be City to Surf, or it might be the Hoka Half that's coming up in May. You know, every time you do one of those races, you learn something new and then you might not get what you wanted and that's okay. There's always next year. You can do the next race. You learn something, you grow. You go, okay, I didn't have any water the first time I raced. Probably not a good idea. Next time, I'll implement that. Maybe I'll run faster. Maybe I won't crash and burn halfway through.
Yeah, exactly. And even I think what really separates it even at the age group level, good athletes from just people who aren't really going to progress is their ability to find lessons within good performances. So, Georgia, let's just say hypothetically, you went sub 4 at Sydney, just gone. Do you think I would have sat there and gone, absolutely awesome, congratulations, go have 2 weeks off? Or would I have sat there and gone through your whole analytics and gone, cool, you did absolutely awesome on A, B, and C. Here's D, E, and F. This is what we need to work on. Like,
Yeah,
how do we put that in? Like, that's even in the performances where we succeed, like, there are still lessons to learn.
definitely. There's nutritional lessons. There's lessons on, hey, look, that first 10Ks, your heart rate was all over the place. Let's look at that. Let's improve that. Hey, all those times you were filming on your phone or talking to a stranger didn't help your performance.
To be fair, the podcast is probably the worst thing we could have done in terms of that for you because there are so many people going to want to talk to you.
Oh my gosh, I know, but at least I was thinking about that the other day with London because I had all of these messages from people being like, "Oh my God, I'm doing the marathon. Can't wait to come say hi to you." And I was like, "Oh, that's fine. They can chat all they want. I'm not no
You
time.
can, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
like,
yeah. You
whatever."
could do a podcast while you're running.
Yeah, why not? My boss was like, Nicholas, he goes, "Oh, hey, you could cross live. You could do a live on our Instagram." I was like, I could do anything.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, so funny. Because I mean, this is so great about London is that I'm actually so excited to not worry about anything. And yes, not have to worry about failing, but also not having the pressure of anything else, just going out there and having fun, which is what it's all
Yeah,
about.
100%. And just on that, I think that's an interesting little side tangent is not every race has to be the next
A
PB.
PB.
Not every just because are doing City to Surf or Hoka Half or Sydney Marathon does not mean you have to be like, okay, I need to be faster than last year. Like you need to look where it sits in your schedule, what
Yeah.
your priorities are. Like if it was up to Georgia, every race she'd be like, we're just going full send. I'd be like, let's just let's just relax on this one. Like
Yeah.
Sydney's our focus. Like this race literally doesn't make a difference. Like let's
No.
just
Yeah. And
focus on the actual goal.
I think this year that is my biggest learning, and I'm really excited to experiment more with is actually enjoying races. And I think that can sometimes only come with a bit of experience because
Yep.
when you're first starting out, you want to do all the races, you want to get all the times, you want to be able to be like, yeah, I got a PB, like how exciting. But I think as you do more races, you kind of settle into the idea of just doing it for fun. And I've got the Nike After Dark Women's Half Marathon coming up. All of my running girlfriends are running it. It's a women's half marathon, as the name is. It's at night time, and we are so excited just to have fun. And last year when I was running Sydney, they all ran together and they just had fun. And I was like, oh, that must be so great. But at the time, obviously, I was so focused. But I think this year, my goal besides Sydney, because it's always been my A race, is to just enjoy more of my runs and enjoy more of my races and yeah, like just go and have fun, run City to Surf and be silly and all of those things. So yeah, bring the joy back.
Yeah, I think just on that is the more you, so when you do your first race, it is 100% of your racing career. So
Mm,
like that's all you have to base it off. But now if you've done 10 marathons and you go up to line up for the 11th, you're like, oh well, this is just another race. Like it doesn't matter if I PB, it doesn't matter where it sits. Like you can choose where it sits in level of importance.
yeah,
While if you're a new runner, you're like, I've trained 8 months for this one day, and it all matters about today. And it's just like the weight of the situation is so much heavier
yeah,
rather than it just being okay. Like I know I can run a marathon. Like the distance isn't particularly challenging. I could do it any day of the week, like we spoke about at the start, and I know I can just cruise through it. Like I know how to manage it. So
yeah.
I just think it's an interesting way of looking at it.
It'll be interesting. I'd love to. I'm excited to report back on what it is like to, be able to like go to an aid station, have my gels, not be really stressed because a lot of the race is stressful. If I'm hoping for a time, I am a bit stressed, and then someone comes up to me and they say hi. I'm stressed that I'm like, okay, don't want to let this person down, but also if I talk too much, my heart rate's going to spike. What's going to happen then? And then the mind just goes crazy. So, gonna dial it down. Oh, you wait. It's gonna be so much content, guys.
I'm interested to see what it feels like when you hit the wall. Because like when you've got a pace goal, you've got a reason to push through the wall.
Yeah.
I'm just I wonder if you're going to get to like kilometer 30 and be like, a 5K walk sounds fantastic.
No, 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 no. Look, I know I've said I don't have a time goal, but I'm not gonna like be at the back. Like I am still hoping for
I
just
think,
past that
Georgia,
four
I
hour
think
mark.
comfortably you doing an upper zone two run with the occasional walk, you would be mid pack of the London Marathon, like
Yeah, yeah,
very, very comfortably. So,
yeah.
yeah, you're not going to be at the back.
No, nothing wrong with being at the back. Don't get me wrong. I just mean as in I want to still stick around that somewhere in the 4 hour to
Yeah,
4:30.
I think you could run a 4:30 to 4:45 marathon, like
Yeah,
without even
definitely.
really thinking about it.
Yeah, and look, I don't even know if who knows, maybe I won't hit a wall. I didn't hit a wall at Sydney, the last race I did. My
Yeah,
feeling
no
was really
shit.
good.
It's almost like we trained for it.
Oh yeah, that one.
Georgia
Oh,
just looks at everything in a vacuum and forgets like there's 9 months leading up to it and be like, oh yeah, I actually ran two half marathons, a full marathon, did 20 weeks of consistent training, nailed my nutrition, my sleep, and tapered really, really well. But no, it went perfect on the day. Can't figure out why.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It was
Yeah.
something.
No, it's the weirdest thing. It's just like it must have been a good cup of coffee or something in the morning, got me through.
I just woke up, just cruised through it.
Yeah, good nights, Kip. I'm ready to go.
Oh, I know. No, I look, I think as much as we joke, yes, the 20 weeks of prep and although in saying that, I was very tired after Gold Coast. That wrecked me. I didn't have much time. I think it was about 8 weeks between Gold Coast and Sydney.
Yeah, because you also didn't stick to the plan for Gold Coast.
You'll come
Gold
to
Coast
know,
was,
guys.
hey, let's just run and feel good. And you're like, I'm going to melt my shoes. I'm running so fast.
Send it. Yeah, no, look,
Yeah.
you'll come to know, guys, that I'm a little bit all over the shop sometimes. Some days I will say to Matt, "Yes, I'm listening, Matt, no problem." And then I'll be like sprinting and he's like,
Yeah.
"Fuck." Especially when it
So
comes to
Georgia is
intervals.
one of the reasons I'm starting to get grey in my beard.
Yeah, look, hey, all I'm just here to keep you on your toes, make sure you're doing your job, giving you stories for the podcast.
You do give you're a content machine, Georgia.
I'm a content machine. I'm just pumping it out. So don't you worry.
Hmm.
London will be all of the content and we can test what it's like to run a marathon with 8 weeks prep. Don't recommend. Don't do it.
Well,
Uh,
it just in saying that you have
I've been training since
trained.
October. Don't worry, guys.
No, I was going to say that since the wedding.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, post Sydney, I had about a month off, which would have taken
Yeah,
us, yeah, to mid-October, which I was lightly running. And then we had the wedding, had a couple of weeks off, that old chestnut. And then
yeah,
I had my 30th, which obviously threw another
yeah. We
spanner.
only lost about a week with the 30th, so
Yeah. And then I think we're down about 3.5 weeks with the injury, but I've still been
yeah,
running in between a little bit. So it's not too bad. I have actually been
yeah.
training a bit. Good base happening.
Base building.
Base
We love it.
building, what do you call it? Stacking bricks. Is that it?
Stacking bricks. Every session is a brick. All you got to do is focus on laying one good brick
Hey, you know, that analogy comes in handy more than you would realize, not just in endurance training, in
in
life,
everything.
in everything. You've got to. I
Yeah.
was talking to someone about this the other day, just with they were talking to me about like, their mental health and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, let's start with a few
Hmm.
things and then slowly put those bricks in the wall. And then once you've done those things, you build that foundation and then your wall is really strong. And that's what Matt always talks about with training is that you are stacking the bricks until your wall is nice and strong and then you can go and run that marathon. So
Yeah. I always, it's a really good analogy when people are like in the depths of prep and they're like, I don't even know how I'm going to get through today, let alone the long run on the weekend and then the threshold
yeah.
session. And then I've got work stuff. I'm like, hey, all you've got to do is worry about laying this exact brick. So this could be your recovery run on a Monday.
Hmm.
Just lay it as best you can. And it doesn't matter if it's not perfect, but if you lay that brick as absolute best you can, and then the next one, the absolute best you can, like it'll just take care of itself. Don't worry about the other bricks. Just lay this brick. Lay this brick to the best of your ability, and then
Yeah.
you'll build a really good wall.
Yeah. And a couple of people have messaged me this week saying, I've got a marathon coming up, but I'm so nervous and I'm really scared I'm not going to be able to do it, which comes back to being scared to fail. And a lot of people have said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. I ran 21K on the weekend and that was so hard. I can't imagine doubling it. And I'm like, don't think about the marathon. Don't think
Yep.
about the end goal. Think
You got to
about
think
your
about
next run.
23Ks,
Yes,
24Ks.
exactly. And that's what I said to her. I said, once upon a time, you would have thought 21K was really hard.
Yep.
21K for you was like, holy crap, a half marathon. And I remember that feeling. I remember what that was like to be like, oh my
Yeah, think
God,
about when you ran your first 5K and you're like, people run 8 of these?
I
Like,
know, like it's wild. And so instead of looking at the long term thing and worrying about not being able to finish, worrying about failing, think about, okay, I've just, as Matt said, put the brick in the wall, run your 21 this weekend. Next week, you've got 23. Great. Go out, smash your 23, bricks in the wall. Next one, you've got, I don't know, 25 or something. And then, that one might not be great. Definitely had plenty of training runs where they've been an absolute shocker, where I've had to
my
stop
bike
and
on the
walk.
weekend.
Exactly. Matt's right. Yeah, Matt's bike on the weekend where, even my husband Nick, he couldn't do his long run on the weekend. Week before, couldn't do his long run. He's like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't get my nutrition right. I thought I got everything right. And I was like, it's okay, just move on to the next one. Like, you've got to try and push past that and just think about the next one instead of thinking about what you could have done or what is coming.
Yep, 100%. It's just focus. And I can't remember what I definitely said this on one of the episodes. Training is designed. It's Today's training isn't designed to get you ready for the race in 6 months. Today's training's designed to get you ready for the training tomorrow,
Yeah.
and that day for the following day, and that day for the following day. And then if you stack all of those bricks. By the end of it, you can then you can lay the final brick, which is the marathon, the half marathon, the 10K, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so people just, I guess they can't see the forest through the trees. Pulling
Yeah.
out all the quotes today, guys, but
Yeah, look, I
yeah.
think I think it is pretty easy to just get in your head about it and get really worried about what's going to happen. But if
But it's also you don't know what you don't know.
yeah,
Like
if you've never
you're like,
experienced it, you don't know what it's going to be like.
mm,
So
mm-hmm,
it is hard. And I think a lot of these things with endurance training is also setting you up, and endurance racing is setting you up for life as well. I mean, all of these things can be, I've got really bad anxiety and I've got this big presentation at work coming up in 3 months, or I've got my 6 month review coming up and I can't think about that. So, okay, what can I do for my performance today that's going to
yep,
put that brick in the wall to help me get to a great performance review or whatever it is that you've got coming up. So, endurance sports are great for you both physically and mentally.
100%. And that's definitely something I use. Is mine's I guess a little bit more binary, but I look at it and like if I'm ever not sure what I should be doing, like I just think, does this move me closer to the goal? So if I am
Yeah.
working on something for like we're doing a new website for the performance project, I'm like, does scrolling on Instagram get me closer to finishing the website? No. Okay. We're writing Georgia and I are going to write a marathon program for you guys. Little drop there. That's before we're ready to even talk about it. But like,
I love that
does
Matt does it. Hold on. I love that Matt does this, guys. He and I'll have a conversation the same day, and then he just drops
yeah.
it in the podcast. He's like, boom, Easter egg. Enjoy that one. We'll talk about it soon.
That also helps me be accountable, because if I say it on the podcast, I feel like I have to do it. Like with you, I was like, oh, I've got to get all this shit done, and
Yeah,
like
I
I don't
know.
even know if I'm gonna make it happen. And then if I say it on the podcast, everyone's gonna be like, "Where's the marathon program?" I'm like,
Yes, that is
"Well, I have to write
true.
it now."
I have
Yeah,
noticed that about you in that, he did today. I was like, okay, it's all good. Don't worry. Just a few people are asking. It's not a problem. Like me, people pleaser. I'm just like, it's all good. Like if it's too stressful for your workload, it's so fine. Whereas I get so many questions just being like, oh, what program do you use? Or I'm running a half marathon. I'm running a marathon. Where do I get a program? How do I navigate this? And I remember that like pre-mat, I had no idea what I was doing. I was following a program, not even following it. So hopefully this will be really great for you guys. But as I said, I spoke to Matt about it and he was like, "Oh, I've got a lot on," which he does. He's very busy, but at least he's accountable now and can't back out.
Well, just for context for you guys, I have the list here that I messaged Georgia. So this is what we're going to do. And we originally when I started the performance project, I never wanted to do training plans. I just wanted to do coaching because I thought there were so many issues within training plans, and everyone who has bought a shitty training plan knows what I'm talking about. Whether it is a one page, like Georgia said, Nick brought one, it was a one page PDF. What was it, Georgia?
Oh, I used to print them out and put them on my fridge. I don't even know. Oh, the PDF, Nick. Was that the one that Nick got with the food?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The one we were talking about the other last
Yeah,
week.
yeah, yeah. It was like a dietitian thing. It was like, here's a plan for what you should eat to kind of help with protein and all that sort of stuff. And we were so excited. And it was one page. And I was like, it's just like, repeat this every day. And I was like, what? This is it? So yes, that's what Matt's referring to.
Yeah. So I decided that because the podcast is going well and you guys have been so engaging with it and so many people are asking about programs and understand with cost of living, coaching is expensive. It's a luxury that not everyone can afford. So what we've set up three sort of base things at the moment. Again, guys, this is just a little bit behind the scenes. It's not 100%, but we've got a new to running, which is going to be a 0 to 5K, a base building 101, master the 5K, a foundational one, which is kind of like an intermediate runner. If you can run sort of 20Ks a week, spread out over the whole week. I have base building 102, a VO2 and threshold program, a 10K program, and then a performance one, which will be base building through to a half marathon. And then the final one will be the marathon one we do with Georgia. But we've got like 10 programs we're working on at the moment for you guys of all different skill levels. So we've got a lot happening that we are working on. It's just
things that we can give back to you guys, and we appreciate that you listen and let us yap all day long. So it should be
all day, our 1 hour on a Monday.
Sorry. I'm delirious.
Well, actually, to be fair, we spend a lot more time talking about the podcast off air than we do on air.
Yeah,
so.
we do. I think that's where I'm coming from. It's like, Matt and I we actually don't just jump on mic and just yap for an hour and then say goodbye for the rest of the week. We talk pretty much every day. And we're excited to give you guys something. So,
Yeah, so the underlying philosophy for all of the programs is real endurance education available to everyone. And we're going to price it accordingly. We're going to make sure some of them are actually completely free. We are going to, anything that we do charge beyond the finish line, we'll make sure there's like a generous discount code that no one else gets. Like, we are going to look after everyone the best we can, but it just takes a little while to put it all together.
Yeah, and like I said last week, a lot of this is so that we can keep doing this. It's not so we can go and buy alpha flies, Matt. Matt's like, nah, this is, it's so we can keep doing this and keep bringing you guys podcasts and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah. And
it's just like,
no, sorry.
Go for it. I was going to say, it's just going to all tie it all in together in terms of like, we'll be able to do podcasts that link up with training programs, so you guys will be able to listen your way through the program. We're going to intertwine it also. It's super informative. It's not going to be just this ridiculous downloaded PDF. Like, all the workouts will sync up for your Garmin.
That's the exciting
We're going to look
thing.
after it.
Yeah, it's not, don't worry, you don't have to do it like I used to have to do it and stick it on your fridge and then try and remember the splits when you're out on your run. They do link to your watch, which will be really good. So it'll be hopefully really worth it for you guys. So yeah. But I was just thinking, I think we've chatted enough about failure. I mean, look, however you want to look at it, I think whatever helps you. But at the end of the day, don't look at failure as a negative thing. Look at it as a positive thing in a way to make you, fuel the fire in your belly to get you to your next race.
Absolutely. If you're
Yeah,
not failing, you're not trying. Isn't that the saying?
I think so.
Yeah, something like that.
Matt's full of sayings. I'm like, yeah, I totally know that one.
I love a quote.
He does. He
I'm a
does.
big quote guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's,
Well, I
Matt's.
like philosophy. I listen to a lot of that. This probably doesn't surprise you. Read like a lot of old Greek philosophy and things like that, and follow a
Oh.
lot of like philosophy accounts and things.
Oh God, don't tell us the marathon story again for the third time.
Hold on, hold
Did anyone else notice
on,
that?
hold on,
I've been waiting
hold
for my
on.
moment to bring this up on the podcast.
Yeah, and now you're about to be burned, Georgia. I'm going to take you down. If you go back and listen, I tell the marathon story, and then in the second episode, I say, Georgia, have I told you this before? And she goes, no, I don't think you have. So it's Georgia's fault. She egged me on.
Look, guys, I was so stressed in those first few episodes that I was just like, yeah, okay, tell the story.
Yeah, just talk, Matt. You talk, so I don't have to.
And then when it actually came down to it, I was like, Matt, you said that story twice. Am I going crazy? I was like, did you edit that in again? He's like, no. I told the story twice. You just didn't tell me. I'd already told it. I was like, oh no, quick, cut it out. And he's like, nah, I'm going to leave it. And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
I'm
leave it.
dying.
Because guess what? Probably over the next however many years Georgia and I do this podcast, I know we're 8 episodes in, but I'm already committing us to multiple years.
It's fine.
I'm probably going to say it at least 10 more times. So
Matt loves Greek mythology. Woo!
it's interesting. Here's a question: when you're running, how deeply do you think?
Not that deep, Matt. Not that.
Really?
No, I'm thinking. Look, the things that I'm thinking about are not mental load things, but my mind just kind of wanders. It's never that deep. It's like I'm listening to a song, and then the song will spark something, and then I'll think about something else. I'm like, oh look, that's a cute dog. Oh my God, I sound like. Do you know what I sound like? Is those people that just can't, or the cartoon characters that can't concentrate? That's what I sound
Yeah,
like.
that's me.
That's me. Yeah, like I'll be running and then I'm like, oh, cute puppy. And then I'm like, oh, hi, know someone I know. And then I'm doing something else. And then, yeah, there's not much happening. Trust me. There's really not much happening.
Wow. Like, I reckon when I exercise that isn't like VO2 stuff, I am a million miles away and I am like so deep in thought. Like I have my best ideas while running. Like I solve business ideas. I ponder like I've been thinking recently about the difference between motivation and discipline, and I haven't quite figured it out yet. But the basic concept is like motivation is painted in a positive light and discipline is painted in a negative light.
Yeah.
But they are one in the same. So I've been thinking about that a lot. But I'll spend like hours just thinking.
Yeah, look, I mean, I probably think about that stuff, to be honest. I'm not thinking about, Greek mythology and how, like, did the chicken or whatever come before the egg. I'm not thinking that deep. I'm thinking...
I don't think that's Greek, but go on.
No, I don't mean it like that. I mean, sorry, in separate things. I knew you'd say that. I was like, so dumb. No, I mean, like, Greek mythology, space... Does the chicken, whatever. I'm not thinking about that stuff. I'm thinking about my socials. How can I improve my videos? That kind of, actually, that's what I mostly think about is when I'm out, I'm thinking about, okay, if I film this run, what can I talk about? The other day I talked about, I was having a really shit run and I talked about the rule of thirds, like that thing. I think about that stuff on my runs, but I'm not thinking.
Yeah, I think about a lot of mental frameworks.
Yeah. Okay. No, I don't do that. But, I mean, that's awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah. Nuts like this says a lot about you, Georgia.
Yeah, it does, yeah. I'm not surprised. I'm always curious about what people think about why they're running because, like, for me, it is such a moving meditation. And for other people, like Sam, for example, obviously she's an Olympic weightlifter who sometimes runs. She's like, I'm thinking about not dying and that is it. And it's a miserable experience.
Yeah.
And I was like, interesting. Like, I'm not even conscious of what I'm doing a lot of the time.
Yeah, whereas I reckon Nick will be out there and just not thinking a single
Nick's
thing.
probably the same. Yeah, he's probably just drifted off.
Yeah. I sometimes I think of sometimes those runs where you really zone out is a bit like,
Hmm.
this sounds so bad. I don't know if anyone else does this, but you know when sometimes you're driving and you're like, holy shit, how did I get
Yeah,
here?
flow state.
Yeah. And you're like, oh shit, like was I concentrating? You were, of course you were concentrating. You just don't really
Yeah,
remember it. But that's how I feel sometimes. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get to that next street that I know of that's, a couple blocks away. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm already here. Like that's sometimes where
yeah,
my mind can go. But I reckon that'd be Nick all the time. He's so
yeah.
chill.
Flow state's super interesting. There's heaps of studies about that.
Really?
But yeah. It's like
I mean,
high
of course there
performers,
is.
like
Yeah.
yeah, like they do like a whole bunch of things like high performers, even like Formula One drivers who are they'll put like the electrodes on the head, they'll put them in a simulator, and
Hmm.
they'll see like their brain activity drops while they're going like 300 k's an hour.
Yeah. Because they're just so
Fighters
zen
when
and
they're
focused and
yeah, they're just focused on one thing. Like fighters when they're in the cage or in a boxing ring, exact same thing. Marathon runners, like yeah, it's super common.
yeah, I do that. Just zone out and you're like, oh, okay. And I know that's a great run when I've done that. I'm in a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
I'm in a good space if I'm not thinking at all on a run. I love that.
100%.
But
Yeah, flow
yeah.
state is yeah, I think it's a good indicator. I'd be interested to know how many of the listeners uh experience flow state. Can you do a
Yeah,
poll, Georgia?
I can. I got to remember these polls, man. I keep forgetting them all.
That's why I put them in the podcast.
I know
And
he
you
does.
listen to the podcast. I
I
don't listen to
do.
the
I do.
podcast.
That's how I remember is I listen to the podcast every week. Matt doesn't listen, guys. I listen to the
I'm here.
podcast.
What do I need to listen to it for? I said it.
Is it weird that I
I
like
don't need to
listen
listen
to
to.
it?
Yeah, it is. I don't need to listen to myself tell the marathon story again. I'm fine. I know the marathon story. I said it.
I think I'm just always trying to improve. So I'm like, I like to listen to be like, did that flow? Did it make sense? How can I improve? You know.
I get that.
Yeah, and then I'm like, I think there was one episode where you were like, Georgia just rolled her eyes at me, and I was dying. I was like, oh my God, Georgia, don't do that again. Make sure you don't do that.
I think it's also different too because a lot of the stuff we talk about is my job. So like I
Yeah,
talk to all of the athletes about like if they're talking about failure, I'd be like, cool. Well, here are all my thoughts on it. Like
yeah,
I send all of you guys mini podcasts every week. So
yeah.
that's my refinement.
So look, I'm in the spirit of making it a bit of a longer podcast today. I thought I'd chuck in a couple of the Q&As from a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, cool.
We did a whole ep on this last week, guys, which
I forgot we
hopefully
promised to do this.
yeah, hopefully by the time you have listened to this podcast, you have heard last week's. And so I'm going to chuck in a couple of random ones that I haven't told Matt about. They
Cool.
were on that sheet, so he has seen them, but I didn't even tell him I was going to do this. But let's go to Gemma. So Gemma asked, "How do you help with stomach cramps after running?" And I'm assuming that also means during running, because I know that can be a thing as well.
Yeah, if it's during running, it is generally a nutritional issue.
Yeah.
So
Do you
this is a
experience that
hard
if
one.
you ever have gels that don't agree with you? Have you ever experienced that?
Uh, in my very, very first Ironman, yeah, I use those goo gels.
Oh, they're horrible. They're full of
Yeah, so bad.
oils and stuff. Ugh.
Yeah. So it was a mistake. I was just like chocolate birthday cake flavor. I'll take 40 of them.
Yummy.
Yeah, and it was a mistake. Um, so I would be interested to Gemma. Feel free to message the podcast because I need more information to
Con
answer this
constant more
correct.
information. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'd be interested to know what you're eating pre-workout, if this happens on short runs or just long runs, and if it is intra or just post, because depending on those things changes the answer dramatically. Some people, if they run on an empty stomach, they can get stomach cramps if they take in pretty much anything, even like a mouthful of water, because it's so empty, and when water hits, it just cramps. It can be a overconsumption of carbohydrates. So if you have a super super carby breakfast and then you have gels and a Gatorade, that can cause it.
Yeah.
Because when we're running, your body decides where it needs blood. Stomach is the least of its priority, so it pulls blood from the stomach, means you can't digest it, pumps blood elsewhere in the body. That can lead to stomach cramps. If it is just post, Hmm. I would say that is probably a lack of fueling and then trying to overfuel in a very short period of time.
Mm.
But again, I need more information to give an actual answer.
Yeah, and introducing fueling as well. Post race, you might get home and like jump straight into some food that could cause stomach
Yep.
cramps. But if it is with your gels, there are gels out there that are a lot more digestible. As Matt said, the goo gels are quite thick, so you really got to have those with a lot of water. You need to, I guess,
I would just steer
eat.
clear of them, to be honest.
Yeah, look, I know, but I think they are a bit cheaper. I don't like them and I wouldn't recommend them, but I know a lot of people who do use them. And
Yeah, sure.
for certain races, they are the only gel on course. They are sponsored. I know Sydney Marathon have Goo as a sponsor. And so if you are out on course and you need a gel, I mean, if you're in dire straits, I still don't recommend them. But there are, you got to have water with them to help your body digest them, right? And so but also there are gels out there that just are built for people who get stomach cramps from gels. The
Yeah.
pure sports nutrition ones are really good for that. I don't get stomach cramps because they're just like having juice. So
It's a fluid gel, yeah.
yeah, fluid. So that helps you a lot more if that is your issue. As Matt said, contact us if there's an issue. We need a little bit more context with
Yeah.
the thing, but
A little hack too, if you struggle with gels and you can't seem to find a gel that works, 3 lolly snakes equals a gel. So it's a really great way to
sure do. Or
really
you can actually just go and buy, well, 3 lolly snakes, yes. Killer pythons, great one. They got
kill
20 grams
pythons.
of
Yep.
carbs in one of them. So,
Yep.
from memory, actually, don't take me on that. But killer pythons is
Yeah,
a
it's
great
like
one.
between 15 and 20. I just
Yeah.
had some the other day.
Yeah, so you can like a killer python, you just have one of them in your hand and you just nibble on it the whole way.
Yep.
They're really great. Some people like to eat more natural foods like dates and stuff, but I mean, on a marathon, where are you going to stash a date? That's going to go all sticky and ugh. I think
Yeah,
that's more
each
of a
to their
trail
own.
running thing, but you do you. I love a date, don't get me
Yeah,
wrong. Love a
yeah,
date.
each to their own. Um,
Okay, cool. We'll jump over to Angie. She has asked, what are the best breathing techniques for intervals, threshold, and speed sessions?
in through the nose, out through the mouth.
Come
For
on,
as
you got
long
to
as
give
you.
us a little bit more than that.
Okay, so you always pretty much want to be breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth, even like through zone 2 running. Like once you can no longer solely nasal breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then when the interval starts to get harder, what you need to do is slow down your breathing a little bit.
Mm,
So this sounds counterintuitive because you're working harder, but I always think of it as like 3 in, 3 out. So
yeah,
breathing in for 3 seconds, hold for a second, breathe out through your mouth for 3 seconds. And if you can control your breath, you can control your heart rate essentially. So it'll actually, even though it feels a little bit harder, the long term play, it'll be easier. Eventually, when you're doing threshold VO2 work, obviously the whole point of it is to elevate your heart rate, and you will just get past that point where you can't do that, and it's just solely breathing in and out through your mouth because you need to get the volume of air in your lungs. But the longer you can 3 in, hold for a second, 3 out, the better.
yeah, definitely. I use that one, especially I know sometimes if I'm running fast, I start to panic. So,
Mm-hmm.
Angie, if you do feel that way, sometimes I know a lot of women get that is when they start to run fast, they think, oh, I can't run this fast. And then they start to panic. And I know that affects my breathing, which then in turn will affect your heart rate. So I just try and remember if I'm struggling with that kind of thing, I just remember the word push. And for me, that when I actually think of the word push, I'm breathing in for the word. It's so hard to explain when it's not in your head. For me, it's like breathe in, push, 2, 3, 4, and then I say push on my way out, and it helps me to push through the session and like really push that air out and then push it in, like that kind of thing. So it's a bit random, but it helps me.
Hey, each thing I say, I will not break. That's
Oh,
my
there you
thing.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or another one I do is I can do hard things, and by the time I think
Yep.
that sentence, then I can breathe out, and then I think that on the way in and think that on the way out. So similar with the word push, depends on how fast you're running, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's a good one. We kind of answered this one last week. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to remember which one we actually did because we ended up adding in a few different ones last week that I hadn't planned for. Um, So I have another one here from, it's actually from Angie again. She said, what? I've completely lost train of thought. Okay, here it is. Sorry. For a long run, 90 plus minutes, what do you eat pre, intra, and post? So that one's a
Okay.
pretty easy one to answer.
Yeah. So if you are not, so just for why we said 90 minutes is 90 minutes is basically the amount of glycogen you have in your body.
Yeah.
People don't know glycogen is carbohydrate, carbohydrate is sugar. They are all one in the same. So sugar is not the enemy, carbs are not the enemy, they are your friend. Uh, if you are not fueling beforehand, and I see this quite a lot in my female clients. They struggle to eat beforehand. They don't know how much they should be eating. I always start aiming for 1 gram of carbohydrates per kilo of body weight as just a very, very basic. If you can do this, you will be somewhat close to fueled for your run.
Especially for
That
90
can look,
minutes, yeah.
yeah, 90 minutes plus. So that can look like if you struggle to eat things like orange juice, things like pineapple juice. We spoke about this last week of
Yeah.
carb loading, honey, uh, crumpets, bananas, all those sorts of things. Very, very high carbohydrates for very, very little stomach volume,
Mm.
um, and Powerades, Gatorades, all those sort of things. Intra workout. For 90 minutes, you'd probably only need one gel around
Yeah.
the 45, half hour, 45-minute mark. Anything over 90 minutes, I generally get my guys having the first gel at half an hour and then pretty much every half an hour after that
Yeah.
until they're done. That's a basic rule. Fluids, if you're trying to hydrate, uh, this is a little bit, everyone can have a shot ready. It's a little bit more nuanced, but it's it's a lot of trial and error. So I'm about half a liter to 600 mils every hour in fluid. Um, if you want to know your sweat rate, this will help very, very quickly. I promise it's not a big tangent, Georgia.
No, go
Um,
for it.
a sweat rate is jump on the scale and then weigh yourself.
Mm.
Go for a run for an hour. Come back. Weigh yourself. Don't consume any fluids. Don't do anything. Just run and jump on the scale. And the weight difference is your fluid per hour. So if you're 1 kilo down, you lose 1 liter per hour. It's just a
Yeah.
very, very basic. Obviously, you take weather and different things into consideration, but it gives you a ballpark.
Yeah, you take it with a grain of salt, but it is a really good
Yeah,
way. Nick and I do that all the
yeah,
time. Just as well, just to know how much we need to have post run as well. Just to be like,
yep. Replenishing.
yeah, replenishing. So, look, take it
Yep.
for an
So,
example. I mean, this morning I ran 90 minutes.
mhm.
I got up a little bit late, so I didn't have time to eat my usual bagel. So again, if you don't want to eat a bagel or you can't stomach a bagel, I literally had a spoonful of honey, shoved that in, ran out the door.
Perfect.
So a spoonful of honey, that gives me that little bit of carbs to get out the door. You could have a banana if you had a banana. I know sometimes it's a bit hard to have toast or something. It might be a bit like,
What
bleh.
is it? Like a spoonful of honey and like a glass of juice is probably like 50, 60 grams of carbs.
Yeah, actually, that's what I did. I had a spoonful of honey and I had a little bit of orange juice left in the fridge. Probably wasn't much, but I was like, oh, that'll do.
Yeah.
That's really quick carbs. So I had that. And then I got to about 45 minutes and I was like, I just had a Pure Sports Nutrition Gel, ate that. And then I came home and I had a really big bottle of a liter of hydrolyte kind of stuff. I had Hyro, had one of those, had a protein shake and ran off to work. So for me, that
Yep.
was
Perfect.
that was what I needed. I'm pretty used to now what I need and what I don't need. But a lot of people do say, when do I need to start taking gels? And as Matt said, that if you're training post 90 minutes, you need to introduce your gel, or 90 minutes and above. Have your gels between, yeah, half an hour, 45 minutes. But
Yeah.
yeah,
If you want to, if it's in 90 minutes easy, you could probably get away with no gel, just a good breakfast. If it's 90 minutes of any sort of effort, I would have a gel around that half hour, 40-minute mark just to make
yeah.
sure you finish that session at high quality.
Yeah, and look, today probably didn't need a gel, but
No,
in
you had an
saying
easy run today.
no, had an easy run, but I knew because I didn't have a breakfast like I would normally have when I go for a run, I was like, I'll just chuck a gel in. If I feel like I need it out on my run, I'll have it. If I don't feel like I need it, whatever. Most of my 90-minute runs, I wouldn't take a gel with me. But today, because I didn't have my breakfast, a gel is a really quick breakfast for me. So I just quickly ate that. And yeah, I was on my way.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. Is the more you do it and the more you experience running gels, things like that, you can just take one. You'll know if you need it. Like the more
Yeah,
experience you have, you'll know. Like I got 40 minutes left. I'm already feeling a bit
yeah,
fatigued. I'll have it. Or you're like, I'm 50 minutes in and I'm cruising. Like,
yeah,
don't worry about it. So yeah,
definitely. Yeah, and look, as Matt said, you don't always need the gels. You can always take a snake with you. That's a really, it's cheaper. I know in this economy the
yeah,
gels can be quite expensive, so a snake is a lot cheaper.
yeah.
So
Even
yeah,
some of those like Uncle Toby's muesli bars and stuff have I know they're a little bit slower digesting carbohydrates, so you'd probably want to start eating that super like a little bit earlier in the run. But things like that, they're a couple of bucks and there's 20, 30 grams of carbs in them as well.
yeah. Now, we actually have one question left on the list from the other day, so I'm just going to do it now anyway.
Cool.
Jamie asked in the last episode, and now I don't know if this is for me or for you, Matt. In the last episode, you mentioned you don't like following the paces. Why is
Mm.
that? Was that you or
Yeah,
me?
I actually that was oh I have we were talking about your marathon
Yeah.
and I made it clear I was like I don't want you following a pacer and you we spoke about this in prep and everything and you had said I know him, trust him, like we spoke about it, blah blah blah. I'm gonna do it. So why don't you go first and you can
Yeah.
just answer it, then I'll give my opinion from a coaching analysis and then that we can wrap up on that.
Yeah. Look, so for Sydney, so for Gold Coast, actually, Nick and I semi followed a pacer, but not really. And then that kind of gave me the thing to be like, maybe for Sydney, I can follow the pacer. Everyone talks about following the pacer, like jump on the pacer party bus. And I was just like, okay. So we spoke about it. Matt said, look, just sit behind the pacer. That way you can follow him pretty much the entire way. Now, nothing against this
I said
pacer.
if you were gonna follow a pacer, just
Yes.
sit behind him.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I knew you didn't really want me to. But I was like, maybe this is what's going to get it for me. And again, every race you
Yep.
learn something new. And now I've learned
Yep.
my lesson. Um, so I had a friend in the same race and she followed the pacer and she got the goal. She stuck with him the entire time, worked really well for her, and I love that for her. Look, I just want to put a caveat in here that I know this pacer, love him to death, great guy, it was not his fault. I actually lost him at about 10K. I don't know what happened. I think he maybe ran to the bathroom. Sorry. And yeah, the I couldn't find him. I panicked. Then when I eventually saw him again, my heart rate was all over the place, and then I just spent the entire race basically trying to catch up to him. I could see him running ahead. It really messed with my head. I was just like, oh my God, that's how far behind I am. But then I was also stressing, like, if I sprint to catch up with him, am I going to then hit a wall? So, look, I don't think I would follow a pacer again. I think I just need to learn to run my own race. So, yeah, that's why I've learnt my own lesson that hard way. But Matt warned me as he just said. Do you want to say, Matt,
Was it
why
a
you didn't
war?
want me to?
Yeah.
You did. So you
It's not.
did warn me. You were like, "Look, I don't think it's a great idea." But
Yeah.
you're like, if you were going to do it, don't sit with him the entire way. Sit a little bit behind him because you don't want to be, with this person for 42 kilometers. You want to do your own race still. So,
Yeah. And so the way I train all of my athletes is like we practice everything. We drill, we
yeah,
drill, we drill, we drill. So we spoke about in the last episode. We have our race breakfast. We run the same courses for our long runs. Like we do everything the same and nothing new on race day. We wear shoes, we wear socks. Like we practice, we practice, we practice. And now you're entering the biggest variable possible on race
yeah,
day, which is another human being,
yeah,
someone that you haven't trained with, you haven't paced with. Are they going? I know they're supposed to go out at a consistent pace and just run a 5:35 every single kilometer or whatever their relevant pace is, but that doesn't mean they do that. Like,
no, yeah, yeah. I agree.
um,
It didn't, yeah,
so yeah, and so that's the biggest one is that it's just an unknown, right? And we are trying to limit unknowns. The more control we have over everything, the higher our chance of success. Like that is just the less variables, the less chance you got of getting fucked. That's the long and the short of it.
yeah,
So the fact that you said it yourself, pace up. maybe you went to the toilet, maybe you just lost him, whatever. But that variable changed.
Yeah.
Heart rate spiked. Had to find pacer, another variable. Now you're doing mental arithmetic. Do I go from where I am now, accelerate, knowing I'm going to burn more calories, know I'm going to change my fueling plan, which we've practiced and then we've got it down to a T. Now we're adding another variable. Do I accelerate to catch that pacer, or do I wait and then catch him at the back end? Like, all of these stresses are just so unnecessary.
Yeah.
That's the big one. The second one, and this is just a point of pride that I have with the majority of my athletes, is we train for you. We don't train for anyone else. We train for you to run your race. Like, this is your goal. This isn't my goal. I didn't say go set a sub 4-hour marathon. You said you wanted to do this. We have trained for you to do this. We are not putting the responsibility in anyone else's hands. It is in your hands. That is it. That you can't blame the pace. What if the pacer finished at 4:01?
Yeah.
Right? And you were like, I sat behind him the whole time. And you're like, that's not his fault. Like,
no,
it's your fault.
Whoa.
No, like that's it. Like, you can't blame someone else for you not achieving your goal, because you're the one who trained for it.
Exactly, and it is so true. And that, I think, it's one of those things though. So many people are like, oh, do this, do that, try this, try that, and you like listen to everyone's advice, and it's like, at the end of the day, I'm running my own race, and yeah, I can't do the whole pacer thing. Because again, all the variables. Another one was like the pace was changing. I'm like, he was supposed to just run a flat 5:35. He's not. He's running 5:20. He's running this. He's running that. What's happening? Not good for someone like me who's just a big stress head. So yeah, Sydney, there'll be no pacer. And
it's also not the way we trained. We trained to run a consistent pace, and then you were going to neg split the last 5Ks. That's what we trained for. That's what you nailed in training. And you did it over and over and over again. And now you're neg splitting kilometer 10 to 15, which makes no sense.
Yeah. So look, I hope that helps answer your question as to why we both
train for you, not for anyone else.
Yeah, definitely. But I do just want to say, just in case he listens, again, I don't blame you. Again, what Matt said, it was my own fault. I should have just run my own race.
Yeah, there is no blame. It is just for some people that is super helpful, and they just like the simplicity of, I am the guy green balloon, follow green balloon. Like, they like that.
Yeah.
That's just not how Georgia and I train. It's not how I trained my guys. And that's, if we had have trained for Georgia, let's just say, Georgia, I just want you to sit on Nick's heels for the next 8 months while we train for Sydney. Like, cool. Then we can do a pacer, or we could use Nick as the pacer as an example.
Yeah.
But that's not what we trained for, and nothing new on race day. That's the simplest thing, is nothing new on race day. Not a different person, not a different pair of shoes, not a different hat, not a different pair of sunglasses, not a different brand of coffee. Nothing new on race day.
Don't triple scoop pre-workout.
Don't triple scoop pre-workout.
Oh dear. So yes, that is why we don't personally like pacers. So yeah, but I'm going to pop another poll up this week, and you guys can ask some more questions, because we are fresh out of questions, and we're going to keep doing this at the end of all of our episodes.
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's good.
Yeah, but like we always end our episodes, we're sitting at nearly an hour and 20 minutes. That's a good long run.
Yeah, it is, yeah. That's nearly need a gel.
Yes, exactly. Nearly. Well, I mean, if you're aiming to run longer than this, you should have had your gel by now.
Should have had your job by now. Yeah.
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 Anyway, that I think wraps it up. Hey, Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about that. Our longest episode yet, episode 8.
I know, you guys. I was really trying to stick to that 50-minute mark, and here we are, an hour and 20 minutes, and we're yapping away.
To be honest, I got a little bit at like minute 37. I was like, I think I'm done. And then we just found a second, because we'd finished talking about failure, and I was like, that's all I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, and also I was like, we can't end on failure. That's,
That's true.
Let's bring it up a notch. Let's have some fun.
Yeah.
No, but thank you so much for listening, guys. As always, please follow us on Instagram at beyondthefinishline_pod, and over on YouTube. Matt uploads all of these to YouTube, so you can see us in person and us rolling our eyes at each other.
I bet you if you watched it, there would be a whole different context to the podcast.
It really would. Sometimes I look back at the cuts of all these videos, and I'm like, man, I look like I'm so zoned out. Or I'm like, what's Matt thinking about when he's looking over there in the corner? Look, if it was up to me, we'd have no video and I could just chill here and like just sit back and not think about how I look. But anyway, as I said, follow us, subscribe to us on
She says that,
YouTube.
but then she was also like, "We need to get a studio. We need to get better cameras. The Instagram needs to look better." So like,
Yeah, because I
you
want
can't
to
have
look
it both
better.
ways, George.
I can't put myself out there looking like crap, but hey, I've upped my game. Hopefully everything is amazing, and I hope this is a good experience for you guys. But we hope you have a great week of training or whatever you're up to, and yeah, hit us up if you have any questions. Any last words, Matt?
Yep. Nah, all good. Hooroo, guys.
See you later.